Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nasvesya Nityam Bhakta Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naistike. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 22. Krishna steals the gopis' garments, text 21 and 22. 21 has no purport, but we can recite it together. Tas tata vanata dristva Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vasamsitabhya Prayachat Karunastena Tositaha Tastata Vanata Dristva Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vasamsitabhya Prayachat Karunastena Tositaha Tastata Vanata Dristva Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vasamsitabhya Prayachat Karunastena Tosita Tastata Vanata Dristva Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vasamsitabhya Prayachat Karunastena Tosita Tastata Vanata Dristva Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vasamsitabhya Prayaschat Karunastena Tosita Tastata Vanata Dristva Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vasamsitabhya Prayaschat Karunastena Tosita. But for word translation, Taha, then, Tata, thus, Avanata, bow down, Dristva, seeing, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Devaki Sutta, Krishna, the son of Devaki, Vasamsi, the garments, Tabya, to them, Prayachat, he returned, Karuna, compassionate. Tena, by that act. Doshitaha, satisfied. Translation. Seeing them bow down like that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, gave them back their garments, feeling compassionate towards them and satisfied by their acts. Now we will recite text 22. So no need to repeat. Tetam pralabdas tapaya saha Pasto bita kitanavat sakarita. Vastrani cheva paritan yatapyamum. Tanapyasuyan priyasanganifrita. Translation. Although the gopis had been thoroughly cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Sri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. Purport. Srila Prabhupada comments, this attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya when he prays, "My dear Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet, or you make me broken-hearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do, because you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all your dealings, that you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipful objects." This is the attitude of the gopis toward Krishna. Om Ajnana Timrandatsya Janam Sanakaya Shaksuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Chitchetayamanopistam Staptam Yena Bhutani Svayam Rupgadamyam Dadati Svapadam Kucham Vandeham Shigo Shiyuda Padakamnam Shigum Vaishnavam Sam Shirupam Jagajatam Saganragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parijana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutadeve Pranamama Hebe Avanka Kalptabhisha Kripa Sindhavesha Patinam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasad Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarani. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, in verse 21, there is no purport by the disciple of Prabhupada, but there are purports of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Shiva Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami. I will read this purport. So, I read the verse again, 21. Seeing them bow down like that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, gave them back their garments, feeling compassionate toward them and satisfied by their acts. So, Vishvanatha Thakur. Krishna then gave all their garments, including the top portion, because he has said before, the top portion I will keep to use as soul. So this, he said, I will also give the top portion, soul. Yeah, to wear himself, that he said in the previous verses. But here he decided to give everything back, including the top portion, because he was pleased that they are done as wished. Shiva Goswami. Offering respects as he had said, Tata, he gave them with prema, prayachat, getting down from the tree all their garments, both lower and upper pieces, because he was merciful at all times, but was pleased, particularly by their actions. Because of the young gopis' desire to see him, he revealed his fickle nature as a young boy, though it also revealed his nature as a gallant. He developed great desire by their special condition of purvanuragam, filled with great pain, which made them overcome their shyness and pride. Sukadev calls Krishna the son of Devaki because of Parikshit. That Parikshit was the great-grandson of Kunti and grandson of Subhadra. Sukadev derived pleasure from this lineage. Devaki was Parikshit's great-grandmother. At the beginning of the 10th canto, Sukadev noted Parikshit was overcome by Krishna prema. We should consider now the greatness of these gopis who were made unsteady by his prema. Addressing Krishna as the son of Devaki should be explained in this way in other places as well. Now Sanatana Goswami says, when they offered respect as he had instructed, that Tata, getting down from the tree, he gave them prayachat, all their garments, both lower and upper pieces, while calling to them affectionately. Or, for fun, he switched their clothes around to please them. It is understood that he descended from the kadamba tree. He gave them the cloth because he was merciful, karuna. He was pleased by nature because he wanted to manifest unlimited qualities as Bhagavan. For he was born from Devaki Sutta. The meaning of Devaki was explained previously. He was satisfied with their vow or for abiding by his own words. Now, there are also commentaries of the same commentators on text 22. I read the verse again. Although the gopis had been totally cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Sri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, though they criticized him, they had done as he said, which was impossible for any others. More astonishing, however, is that they became blissful. They had been deceived to the extreme by his words criticizing their nakedness. They had been made to give up their modesty. He mocked them, insisting that they come and get their clothing. They were made to dance like puppets when he said, "This is true, it's not a joke." They did not find fault in him, even when he told them to put their hands about their heads as prayaschitta. Though all this was done by their beloved Priya, they became blissful because they could meet him. Because he was their beloved, even actions causing suffering became causes of joy for them. They became more attached to him for doing that. How he spoke to them is described. He treated them as dolls, that's Jiva Goswami. They became blissful by his association, or rather they became blissful in his association. See the glory of deep prema. Sanatan Goswami, similar, he said, "O king, see the greatness of their prema." Or speaking of Krishna's ability to bewilder, he speaks to the girls as with some hatred. He made them act like puppets, Kridanvat, because they were happy to associate with him, or they became happy along with him. So these are the purports were previous acharyas, but I think it's important we hear from Prabhupada that Prabhupada Krishna book. Somewhere I have Krishna book here. Yep. Here. So, I read a few paragraphs. When the gopis saw that Krishna was strong and determined, they had no alternative but to abide by his order. One after another they came out of the water, but because they were completely naked, they tried to cover their nakedness by placing their left hand over their pubic area. In that posture they were all shivering. Their simple presentation was so pure that Lord Krishna immediately was pleased with them. All the unmarried gopis who prayed to Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband were thus satisfied. A woman cannot be naked before any male except her husband. The unmarried gopis desired Krishna as their husband, and he fulfilled their desire in this way. Being pleased with them, he took their garments on his shoulder and began to speak as follows. My dear girls, you have committed a great offense by going naked in the river Yamuna. Because of this, the predominating deity of the Yamuna, Varuna Dev, has become displeased with you. Please therefore just touch your foreheads with folded hands and bow down before the demigod Varuna in order to be excused from these offensive acts. The gopis were all simple souls, and whatever Krishna said, they took to be true. In order to be freed from the wrath of Varunadev, as well as to fulfill the desired end of their vows and ultimately to please their worshipful Lord Krishna, they immediately abided by his order. Thus they became the greatest lovers of Krishna and his most obedient servitors. Nothing can compare with the Krishna consciousness, of the gopis. Although the gopis did not care for Varuna or any other demigod, they only wanted to satisfy Krishna. Krishna became very ingratiated and satisfied by the simple dealings of the gopis, and he immediately delivered their respective garments, one after another. Although Krishna cheated the young unmarried gopis and made them stand naked before him, and enjoyed joking words with them, and although he treated them just like the dolls and stole their garments, they were still pleased with him. Still pleased with him, and never lodged complaints against him. This attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, "My Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet, and you may make me broken-hearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do, because you have complete freedom to act, but in spite of your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipable object." This is the attitude of the gopis towards Krishna. Lord Krishna was pleased with them, and since they all desired to have him as their husband, he told them, "My dear well-behaved girls, I know of your desire for me, and why you worship goddess Katyayani, and I completely approve of your action. Anyone whose full consciousness is always absorbed in me, even if in lust is elevated, as a fried seed cannot fructify, so any desire in connection with my loving service cannot produce any fruitive results as in ordinary karma." So you see in Prabhupada, in Krishna book, he brings Lord Chaitanya in, and he says, and he quotes the 8th verse of the Siksastikam. And that's also taken over in the purport by that. So about this Siksastikam, this 8th verse, this surrender of the gopis, the attitude of the gopis. I did some research, and I have a few quotes of Srila Prabhupada where he mentions this verse. He mentions this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.6.26. This is a verse describing the surrender of Maharaj Pariksit. And he says, religion, economic development, and sense gratification are celebrated as 3 means for attaining the path of salvation. Iksha trayi, this is knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive acts and logic, and knowledge of politic and economics, which are different means of livelihood. All these are different subjects of Vedic education, and therefore I consider them temporary engagement. On the other hand, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu is a factual gain in life, and I consider it the ultimate truth. So what Prabhupada is saying is, Dharma, Artha, Kama are 3 materialistic goals, which are prescribed also in the Varnashram system to follow this. But he says, that will not give you any benefit. The benefit comes from surrendering to Krishna. Then that's the factual gain in life. And that's the real truth. So we should not be bewildered by this dharma, artha, kama. That we should be in Varnashram. They do the dharma, artha, kama, but haritoshnam for Krishna. Otherwise, the Bhagavatam says it's useless. Shama eva ekevalam, just useless. So we are bound to follow in the footsteps of the gopis and surrender. Means they tolerated everything, gave up everything socially, all the social customs, and that even their chastity, everything they gave up to come to Krishna. That is the factual gain in life, Prabhupada says. That means our priority in life must be following Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita. Also in Krishna book, it speaks about this 8th verse of Siksastikam in chapter 47. We are now in chapter 22, the stealing of the garments of the gopis. It's 47, and 47 is when Uddhav goes to Vrindavan and delivers the message of the gopis. And there, Prabhupada writes in the purport, in Krishna book. Since Krishna is absolute, his so-called unkind activities are as relishable as his kind activities. You see the gopis here. That's Krishna. Superficially, Krishna is unkind with them. But they relish it. They relish it. So, since Krishna is absolute, his so-called unkind activities are as relishable as his kind activities. Therefore, saintly persons and great devotees like the gopis cannot give up Krishna in any circumstances. Lord Chaitanya, therefore, he prayed, Krishna, you are free and independent in all respects. You can either embrace me or crush me under your feet. Whatever you like, you may make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. But you are my only object of love. So Prabhupada quotes again the Siksastikam here. But he mentions also this verse in another book, Journey of Self-Discovery. That's one of the small books we distribute. The Prabhupada writes, appreciating God because he gives me breath, that's not love. Love is without motive. I must think, even if God does not supply me daily bread, I love him. That is real love. So the gopis, this is also the love of the gopis. That whatever Krishna does, that we will accept. But all the reversals he gives us, but still we will love him. So Prabhupada writes, God, so this is pure love of God. When we come to this stage of loving God, then we'll find ourselves full of pleasure, just as God is full of pleasure. This is perfection. So yes, this is of the journey of self-discovery. And then we have another of these small books called The Law of Nature, an infallible justice. There Prabhupada writes, God may do whatever he likes, yet I will still love him. I don't want anything in exchange. That is the sort of love Krishna wants. The love of the gopis was pure, without any impediment. Also, yes, this is pure love. Then in a lecture on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, 26, 29, the verses Yat Karos, Yat Tasnas, Yat Yos, Yadas, Yat, and so on. He said, Lord Chaitanya said, I'm trying to see you. So he speaks to Krishna. He's in the mood of Srimad Radharani. He speaks to Krishna. I'm trying to see you, but you do not come. I'm broken-hearted, but still I shall continue to love you. I cannot detract myself from this love. That is pure love. That, of course, pure love is described by Lord Chaitanya, but no, by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He spent many verses, half of his chapter, I think it's chapter 6, Madhya Lila, and there from verse 108 onwards, he described the difference between love and lust. That so lust is like iron, and love is gold. That and it says that to understand spiritual love, one must be situated on the platform of Suddha Sattva, transcendental consciousness. Otherwise, we cannot begin to understand it. And the difference between lust and love lies into the motive. Lust is to please our body and our own senses. But love means to please the beloved, not our own senses. Give your love to the beloved without expecting something in return. In the mundane lust, or so-called love, it's mostly, you give to me and I take from you. That's not love. That's business. That Prahlad Maharaj writes about this. That's because Lord Nrsimhadev is offering everything. He said, ask me what you want, I will give it. And Prahlad Maharaj said, don't entice me with that proposal. I'm born in a family of demons, and demons are already attracted, not really attracted by sense enjoyment. Don't entice me with that proposal. That you are my eternal master, I'm your eternal servant. And that's our relationship. I'm your servant, and that's everything. Still, he's asking for blessings, Prahlad Maharaj. He's asking about his father. That father would try to kill him, and he asked for him liberation. And Lord Nrsimhadev said, it's granted. I think 21 generations are liberated in your family. Yeah, 21. Bhaktivedanta Saraswati said, for a Madhyama Adhikar, it's 10 generations or something. And for a Kanishta Adhikar, 3 generations. Interesting, that's coming to Bhaktivedanta Saraswati. Yes, but Prahlad Maharaj has another benediction. He's asking, I'm very indebted to my spiritual master Narada Muni. So, bless me that I can always engage in his service. That's interesting. That is what he was asking. But of course, we are not on the platform of pure love. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Shatur Vida Bhajanti Mam Yejana Sukhitarana Artha Jiknasi Artha Tijnanasa Paratarshika. There are 4 kinds of people who are pious, but they have material desires, and they approach me to get out of distress, to get wealth. They are curious, or they want to know me. And Krishna says, they are all dear to me, because whoever comes to Krishna will become purified. purified of these desires. Yeah, that's because the Bhagavatam says, whether you are full of material desires, have no material desires, or desire liberation, with great force you should practice bhakti yoga, that you will become purified. So that's Krishna's mercy. We don't have to be on that highest platform to start the process, but it will bring us to purification. So this is the surrender of the gopis. For us, the most, because many times also devotees, they ask the question, why is that happening in my life? See the life of Srila Prabhupada, was it all rose and Sharanamrita? No, it was not. It was a whole endeavor to come to the West and so on. So why is Krishna is doing that? Why so much suffering for his and for a pure devotee? That was also a point brought forward by Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev was lying on the bed of arrows. He was going to leave his body, he was waiting for that. And the Pandavas and Krishna appeared before him. And he said to the Pandavas, you have suffered so much. You have undergoing great injustice. But then Bhishmadev said, but this is all the plan of the Lord. And we cannot understand the plan of the Lord. We can maybe we can understand yada yada dharmasya glanik bhavta bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tatatmam chichamyam. Krishna comes to re-establish the principles of religion, of paritranaya sadhunam, vinasaya sadushkam, to kill the demons, or to protect the devotees. Yeah, they're the general things, but all these details, why things happen, we cannot explain, but Krishna knows. Krishna is his plan. But for a devotee who is pure in consciousness, that whatever happens, good or bad, is Krishna's mercy makes us blissful. But why suffering? It is explained in Nectar of Devotion that when we chant the holy name, perform devotional service, all our karma is burnt. But still, we see the devotees are suffering. The Pandavas are suffering. That Srila Prabhupada went to a lot of hardship. So why is that? Our acharyas explained, and I found that an interesting aspect. We can be practically pure, but still there is a residue of material desire in our heart. And still there is some little taste for enjoyment. And Krishna wants also to take away that taste. So when we are in the material world, yes, there is suffering. It's not to be avoided. That's material life. But the devotee who is on the transcendental platform does not experience that suffering. When Prabhupada was, for the last time, his last visit of the monarch, he came from Vrindavan to England. He was going to America, but he became very sick in England, and he had to come back to Vrindavan. But at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, he was the whole day in bed. And one devotee asked Prabhupada, are you suffering? Prabhupada replied, I don't feel anything. So that's transcendental consciousness. The suffering is in the mind. That's where the suffering comes, all the suffering. Our karma comes to the mind. All the suffering comes into the mind. But we are not the mind. What is suffering? Experience in the mind is experienced by false ego. False ego is a subtle element. It's not us. But when we become pure, there is no false ego anymore. We don't identify with the mind. And that's a process that goes gradually. Anyway, we went a bit deeper into that. But yes, whatever good or bad happens in our life, especially the life of a devotee, it's only Krishna's. Hare Krishna. Any question, comment? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the class. I was wondering that Gayendra asked to the Lord something. In that case, it's not pure love.
No, Gajendra is the example of one who is in distress. Who is in distress. That's Chaturvidabhachantamani Yejna Paripashti. Yeah. Achta Shikhna Shachtakti. Yejana Sukhitarna. Achta Shikhna Achta. Shikhna Shachtakti. Achta means suffering, distress. And is the example always quoted as one of these four who comes to Krishna with material desires? But Krishna still came and he became purified by seeing Krishna. And he was saved. He was saved and got his spiritual existence back. Well, he was a demigod, so he went back to the heavenly planets. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
So this Bhagavatam's 21 generation.
Yeah.
So those who are born in a line of great devotees, it's like they already guaranteed success.
Yeah. If they are born in the family of, if they are born as a demonic Maharaj line, yes. Yes, you will get liberation. But how to get liberation? That's another thing. That how Krishna does it. Because it may be they will get liberation, but it means in their next life they will become devotees and become purified and go back to God. And it's not just Krishna respects our free will, that you must want to go back to God.
Just like Balima.
Yeah. Yeah.
So technically he was already liberated.
Yeah, but he was trained by Prahlad Maharaj. He was in pure consciousness, pure Krishna consciousness. He was already liberated, yes. But yeah, it was the blessings of Prahlad Maharaj. Good, thank you very much. Tatra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.